Well, Pastor Robbie George again here this morning, Gravel Hill Baptist Church, Monday, September the 11th, 2023, coming to you from Statesville, North Carolina at this time. I'm going to continue with part number 2 or section number 2 of the previous message of a coat of many colors from Genesis chapter 37. And I had shared 3 points in the previous message, and this will be part 2, and we'll pick up at point number 4, where our motives matter, the reasoning behind our decision-making processes. So our motives matter today. From Genesis 37 verse 35, and it said, "And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him," meaning Jacob, "but he refused to be comforted, and he said, For I will go down into the grave unto my son, mourning." Thus his father wept for him. So our motives matter this morning, the reasoning behind our decision-making processes. Look at the deception that continues in this verse here as his sons and his daughters rise up to comfort him. The sons obviously now with Joseph out of the way, hoping to move into that place of prominence in their father's life that Joseph had once held. The moral this morning of our biblical account of Joseph and his coat of many colors, the love for him of his father, the hatred that stirred up in the heart of his brethren, how this led to Joseph being sold as a slave and forced into Egypt. God had a greater plan ahead that fills up the rest of this book of Genesis. The whole book of Genesis is on the beginning of all things: creation, marriage, a people chosen of God, the covenant, the fall of man, the destruction of mankind, and a new beginning. For Joseph, that's where the narrative naturally takes us. And the first 6 verses in chapter 39 is where I will pick up reading. In 39 it says, "And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard in Egypt, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man. He was in the house of his master the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him. He made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake, and the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. He left all that he had in Joseph's hand. He knew not aught that he had save the bread which he did eat, and Joseph was a goodly person and well favored." Now in our Christian walk, all of us go through these seasons like Joseph. Though he was a slave at this time, now in Egypt, and he was beginning again, what God is doing in our life during these times is far more important than what may be going on around us. Joseph will enter a time of testing next in our biblical account. We will not cover that today, but we must understand a couple things about our account of Joseph and how God blessed this man. Amen. There are so many people that God had in place at the right time, in the right place, and for the destined will and purposes of God. It is the same way in every one of our lives. If you and I will simply be faithful to God, if we will do as Joseph and serve right where God has plants us, it may not be an actual prison cell, but it may be a situation out of our control. To those around us, friends, associates, they may see our station in life as it looks from the outside as a prison to them, but for us, God is at work. People should be able to see that not only the Lord is with us, but that God is moving us forward. This doesn't mean that temptation will not come, because it will. Temptation will surely come. James talks about it, and I'm going to read a couple verses from James, and then we are going to be done with this session today. In James chapter 1, from verses 2 through 4, James writes to us, and he said, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into divers temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing." So temptation will come. When it does come, we just steady our hands upon those things that God has given us to do. God's blessing in our lives, He addeth no sorrow with them. Let's find joy right where God places us, whether it be a place of patience. Joseph was where time could only work these things out. Or a time of testings, He's getting ready to enter into that, and we go in and out of seasons of testings ourselves. God knows the end and the beginning. That is what I'll leave you with today. May God bless you and keep you. May His face shine upon you. May He give you peace. And may you be the difference maker today. God bless you today.